Hey, buddy.
So, Jason.
No, I'm a customer.
We got James.
I'm a customer right now.
You don't. It's not safe to be a customer right now.
Mr. Customer here, buddy, and I would like to purchase some new tracking collars.
Oh, yeah. We, Jason, James, we got you with you here. Okay?
Yep, I got you.
Oh, they're picking on me because I fired a couple customers last week. Easier to get employees in, or easier to get customers than it is to get employees. So I was like, what?
When Buddy sees the bullshit cup just overflowing, he's like, we got to stop this.
Sometimes you got to do that.
Well, I don't like doing it, but yeah, it was. We'll get into that a little bit later. You were texting me last night? You got that cat on your back porch you think came back?
Yeah, it's been back. Oh, I don't know. It seems like every 3 or 4 days it's coming through. Saturday.
What makes you think it was there last night?
About, I don't know, it must have been 9 o'clock or so, somewhere in there. The wind was kind of starting to blow down off the hillside behind the house, and all of a sudden every dog blew up and trying to get over the fence, and the fence has a hot wire on the top of it, but that doesn't really seem to stop them once there's a lion right out back behind the house.
They'll take the heat.
So, yeah, and it's crazy. It was Saturday morning, I guess it was. It was right down behind the post office in town at like 6:45, 7 in the morning, broad daylight, just walking down the road.
Oh, jeez.
So, really?
Yeah, it's kind of
everybody's blowing you up.
Oh yeah,
James, there's a cougar in town. You're like, no shit, it's in my freaking backyard.
Yeah, it's it's kind of a nonstop deal, and it's not bad, I guess, because people know who to get a hold of, but at the same time, it's at times it's like they think I work for the state as a full-time employee, and it's like it's my decision to not go do something with it when that couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah. You mean you start taking blame for other people's
exactly
issues. I'm like, hey, dude, I'll give you some cuss words you can borrow. Don't put your cuss words on me. That's exactly how a couple customers got fired last week.
And so it's like you can't go. I can't go to the hardware store. I can't go get a cup of coffee. Can't hardly go anywhere without somebody asking why something hasn't been done with the cougar in town.
You're the complaint department.
Yeah,
that's how I feel every day with Garmin. I'm waiting for their check to show up.
Especially when your boss is buddy, and he sometimes just would rather not answer the phone, so somebody else has to take it.
Hey, I'll say he's been working his tail off lately. When I'm like, there's a stretch in time, and we're hitting it very soon. Where it's is Buddy even in this week?
It's like you ever seen those pictures? Like it's like dimensional art where the road goes to like a point and it just goes off into like a dot
off into the sunset.
Like that's what this looks like. It's coming towards September. Like, Buddy's workload is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It's going to get to that dot in September, and it's like everybody's like, when do you like not around
September
anymore?
1st.
I'm like, it's coming soon
for the next 7 months.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh,
as long as you're here Black Friday.
That's funny.
I don't. Other than that,
yeah. It's I don't know. Every year I say I'm going to hunt harder, more, and I never get to it. So, well, hopefully this is the year, but we'll see. It always starts off September. You get a good taste, and then October, November, deer and elk kind of get in the way. For getting out in the woods a lot. So.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, speaking of that, taking complaints for somebody that's exactly kind of what happened to lose. I had to fire a couple customers. They were absolutely irate about the Garmin products and basically cussing us out about it. I'm like, dude, like, I'll give you some more cuss words. You just don't use them on me.
Not even us. Like the nicest person in the shop. Like, if you're cussing at Jess, there's something wrong. Yeah.
I'm like, wow. Like, anyways, it was one of the things I'm like scratching my head, and I mean, people are absolutely. There's some there's some real hostility out there about these TT15X and 200 systems.
Yeah.
I was dealing with, he's like, you shouldn't even be selling these things. And I'm like, I understand, but because we'll just call him Bob, you know what I mean? I'm like, because Bob is not happy with the TT15X, everybody that calls me, I'm like, no longer gonna sell. You know, like, I'm like, sorry, we stopped selling collars because Bob was pissed. You know, Bob didn't think anybody else should have them, and he's pissed because he still he won't stop using them. That's the part that cracks me up is you get these people. You know, I'll say these people because I've been there. I've been so freaking mad. Like I have been in that situation where I'm like boiling over.
Do we remember Warren Winch? Like, let's all go back to that story.
Oh yeah. In the most ironic part is you get so damn pissed. It's like me with Warren Winch. That's a perfect example. I was so pissed, but I still wouldn't give up my winch. I'm like, this winch sucks. It's the piece of shit. You shouldn't sell any of these damn things, but I still need a winch. And I'm not going anywhere else. Over then. Yeah, but I still want a Warren Winch, but I want to bitch about it. That's how I feel sometimes with the Garmin. Is everybody's pissed about Garmin, and I get there too.
But nobody wants to go back to give up telemetry.
No.
You know, some people don't even remember like what telemetry was. Like, yeah, that's the sad part is we're getting into new boundaries where
they've never used it.
Like, dude, I believe we should do a challenge sometime.
Yeah.
Jason, I think we I don't know how you do it or whatever, but we should do like a telemetry challenge or a Garmin challenge where you don't put a Garmin on your dog and you go hunt for a couple days.
See how thankful you are.
I think that should be something.
See how much more fuel.
Fuel who wants to sign? You can buy a new GPS collar after the fuel savings.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, part of me wants to do it, but the other part of me is like really scared and I want to be a chicken shit. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it, but I don't really want to do it. But I really think everybody should think about that and do. You know, are you willing to go out and hunt for a couple days without a Garmin collar? And if you are, I don't know what the answer is, but I think you'd be a little bit more
understanding.
Like that's the part, you know, and I don't want to take pressure off Garmin because I want Garmin to get this stuff better. And the 15X collars, I think we're getting in better ground with those. And the first couple months was pretty rough. We had a lot of those they would blink red on charge. James, you familiar with any of yours failed?
Mine, I didn't have the double blink. I had the one that just randomly started turning on and off on its own.
I'm still hearing that.
That was way back in the beginning.
Yeah, and I have yet to have the double blink on red.
Well, if you do, there's nothing you can do except for send it back.
And cuss at somebody there. And
yeah, me, James. I'll take it.
Blame Buddy for the collar not working.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you're colorful about it, like you got to use the right words. Like, I don't know my email. And I told him, I was like, here's the deal, man. I don't want to get in between you and Garmin. Like, you guys need to have a dialogue. You know what I mean? The poor guy at Garmin that needs to answer the phone. I really want them to hear from you so that they can understand what the problem is. Because I just don't convey the message as well as he was conveying it to our staff.
Don't want to screw up the translation.
Yeah, exactly. You know how that telephone game works, right? You tell us and then we tell them, like, your Garmin collars suck. And then we're like, Garmin, you could do better. By the time it gets to Garmin and the top guy, they're like, your Garmin collar is really cool. They're good. And I'm like, no, that's not what it was. It was, can you please fix these damn things?
Depends on who's writing the email.
Yeah. So anyways, I was pretty rough last week. I could tell you I had a couple. I had another, there was actually two of them. Another one that several people in the shop didn't want to deal with it. They're like, yeah, I really don't want to deal with this guy. And he was rough. And I'm sitting there going like, I got half my staff who are like, yeah, I really don't want to handle this. I'm like, I'm damn sure not picking up this son of a bitch to figure it out. Like, I'm sorry. It's going to be easier for me to keep these employees than it is to find a new customer. And, so long story short, I guess if there's a takeaway from this, if you're pissed at Garmin, just make sure you don't take it out on us when you're wanting us to repair stuff. Because that's the first thing I'm like, hey, we're just done with repairs. We do repairs as a courtesy for people, it is not part of our business. And sometimes I'm like, man, why do we got these guys that just use us over and over and over for repairs. And like, they haven't even bought anything hardly new in 5-6 years, which I don't really care, but it's like, okay, you're going to bitch at me every time you just need to get your ship fixed. And I was like, okay, we're going to be done repairing collars for certain select customers. You get on that list, at least right now.
Well, it's one of those things that, like you say, there's questions we have to answer. Like even me, like if a customer has a busted collar, even if it came from us, we can't guarantee that we're going to do it. Are you going to be happy in the end is the big one, if it's.
Oh yeah. That was the other thing was, I don't know, James, I had a policy. We had because back when you couldn't get 15 collars, like Garmin was like 4 months, 5 months out from getting a collar repaired. And so we had a small stash of them, and I bought a couple sideways, and I got whatever I could get my hands on stuff to repair collars. And part of our repair process is number one, did you buy it from us? Because, we were only going to take care of customers who purchased from us. You know what I mean? It's like because we had Garmin, the tech support Garmin was sending over guys to us. They're like, hey, W, you can repair it for you. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to stop repairing people's shit deposited at Cabela's. I'm like, go ask Cabela's to repair your repair it. So that was the first question was, did you buy it from us? If we sold that collar, we gave priority to, do repairs on collars that, loyal customers that sold, bought collars from us. It was, number two was, what was the other question, Jason?
I'm as bad as you.
Oh, the price. The price.
If they complain about the price increase.
Yeah, if you're going to complain about the price, like this is what it cost, and there was some that we had to charge. I think it was like $25 more during a certain couple months or whatever. We had to.
Yeah, it was like right there in February, I think.
right in season.
Yeah, we just could not get collars, and so I ended up buying them sideways. I found a place that I could buy a handful of them, 50 or 60 of them. It wasn't very many, but we would have been out in 3 days if we would have just kept doing it. And so it cost more for me to get them that way. I didn't get them directly from Garmin. And I was like, if you're going to be pissed off about me having to charge you an extra $25, I'm like, don't do it. You know what I mean? Please. Exactly. I don't want to send you this collar. If you're going to be pissed about the $25 extra it cost me to get this collar, please don't. Like, I don't have enough collars as it is. I'm not going to be able to take care of, because I know there's a guy that's going to call next right behind you that has a bunch of dogs. It's like, I need that collar tomorrow. And I'm like, yep. And he's going to be like, $25, no problem. Here you go. So that was the second thing. And the third thing was were they going to be happy? Like if we couldn't make them happy, and that's kind of what boiled down to last week I was like, these guys are never going to be happy. Like, it sucks. You get in these situations and it's like, there's nothing, you just realize there's nothing you're going to do to make a happy transaction. You know what I mean? Like, they're pissed, rightly so. They got a collar failing, or they got their 200i just not working right, or whatever it is. They're absolutely pissed at the world, and nothing you're going to do is going to make them happy.
Right.
That was the third straw. That was like, okay, well, I don't want to waste my energy on, people that are just going to badmouth us and be pissed off anyways. I'm like, yeah, I'd rather give you a reason so that whenever you are pissed off and badmouth us, I did that. Yep. That's what I did. I told pound sand, see you later. Well,
it's hard when that's taken away from, there's 100 other people in line that are going to be pumped because it's the middle of the season and they're needing gear. And I know that was a rough stretch.
I should be grateful that we have customers that we can be comfortable at doing that. Like, that was something I don't do very often. Like, we don't tell guys to leave very often, but
it's like the third one I can think of ever, since I've been here.
It's just weird that it happened 2 in 1 week.
Yeah.
We started.
Mercury's in retrograde or something.
Yeah. Anyway, so we didn't move on. I'm just gonna keep bitching, and then you got to find the beat button because I'm gonna start.
Don't use those. It makes Colby's job harder.
Oh, James, are you ready for the season?
I think James dropped off of here.
Oh
yeah,
no,
he
shit.
kicked out about a minute and a half ago. It's just you and me.
Like, yeah, it was gonna be a boring conversation. I'm sure he'll be back on. He must have lost internet, but.
Well, are you getting dogs ready yet? I mean, getting them tuned in?
Yeah. Yep. I need to get my trailer and set up ready for Labor Day. We're going to start camping again.
Nice.
We haven't been camping hardly at all because of the woods have been shut down and stuff with the fires and all that kind of stuff. And then this year, the snow level was, it just stayed.
Oh, yeah.
Some of that ground that I had to get into just had too much snow to get a truck and trailer through. So I didn't get it go either.
Yeah.
Let me send James a text and let him know he dropped off.
So he's not sitting in his car talking to himself for the next
half
hour.
He's probably talking right now. Telling some good stories.
Yeah, right. He's got the gold going on right now. Oh, that's funny.
How was the field trial?
It was a good time. It was definitely like those guys worked their butts off. I will say that. Mark and Brad, and everybody over there. Because it was, I cheated and I left Thursday night so I could get part way. Because 8 hours with kids in the car it's a long trip. 4 or 5 hours they've done a lot of, but that's a long stretch. So we ended up getting into the trial like early, mid-afternoon and set up. And, it's just a good group of guys and everybody's hanging out. And then Saturday morning, it was dogs all day. And they started Sunday because they ran the 3-dog pack race and the bear race on Sunday. They started at I'm going to say 6 a.m. 6 something. It was ridiculous early. I was like, holy cow. And they ran dogs until I left. I think I left about 11:30 and they were still running on Saturday or on Sunday. It was crazy, but they had a great turnout. Guys from all over, good dog races.
How many dogs they show?
I didn't even get a count. Mark said it was really good though. They had raised, I know this event raised more than they ever have from what he was saying.
Oh, good. James, you back with us now?
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know what happened there. My phone was plugged in and it overheated or something. So it had to cool down before it could. I don't know. It must
throw the air conditioning on.
That must not be a very good charging cord. I can tell you that. We got that phone that hot that fast.
It was supercharged.
Yeah. So, but no.
Yeah, we were talking about the Jason just come back from OUSDA trial.
No.
Me and you actually went to that
on LeGrand
several years ago.
Yeah, I remember seeing you guys there one time.
Yeah,
Buddy made fun of me.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you there too. I'll never forget that, actually.
Tell the story, James.
So we go down to LeGrand, and I took my camp trailer, and Buddy took his camp trailer, and we had a great big camp set up there, and generators, air conditioning, coffee pot, the whole 9 yards, and woke up that next morning. I think we got down there on a Friday, I think it was, and woke up Saturday morning, and I stepped outside of the trailer, drinking a cup of coffee, slept great on a nice bed. And I look over and I see the Plum Tree Houndsply trailer, and I see Jason sleeping it was either under his truck or under the trailer.
Oh, it was under the truck. That's my spot.
In the dirt. And so I walked back inside and I told Buddy, I said, hey, Jason Doobie's over there sleeping underneath his pickup. And Buddy just starts.
Let's go get a picture of that.
Buddy just starts laughing, and at the time it was like, should we go offer him a cup of coffee? No,
no,
we're not gonna do that.
You didn't. Yeah,
that had to be right before we.
That was the year there was that fire.
Yeah, there was a fire.
Yeah.
This year I was prepared. The W truck had Pulaski's, shovel, fire extinguisher, water. We were
had
set.
everything.
But I was in a tent this time. I'm still not a high roller, but we had a tent and a cooler and a camp box, so we were set.
I think that must have been probably like the summer before you started working at W. It had to have been right in there somewhere.
That was the last one I went to.
It was probably at the peak of the.
That was my boiling point. Was that
was the check?
That was the checks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
you remember that?
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm gonna forget about that.
We did money added. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, we did money added on that.
Yeah, we did the money added.
And they were W checks, victory.
Yep,
check.
and they handed them all out to the winners, and they were W checks. And I about freaking lost my mind. And poor Brad got the blunt of it. He's like, "Oh, it's cool, it's cool." And I remember the conversation started. The F it is, Brad, and it went downhill from there.
Oh yeah, that was the peak of the whole deal.
That's a really fun field trial, though.
It is a ton of fun and good people.
It was. I just remember that when those guys come into the camp, and I don't remember what, we were all just hanging out in the afternoon.
The bow hunters.
And the bow hunters come in. And I was like, yeah, there's a fire. It was only a mile or two down the road or something, So like a bunch of us just hopped in. And we had a water trailer.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a water trailer up there because we were worried, we wanted to make sure that we had water there if something happened that we could, for the Forest Service or whatever. And so there was a whole big old, it was like a line of houndsmen just bailing out of there, heading towards that thing. Jumped across the field. You could just see the smoke coming through this field. And it was kind of like, it was kind of intense. You didn't know. It was back in those, I guess last year, 2 years ago, there was a lot of fires, but there was a lot of fires that year too over east. And they're moving quick. And we got in there and it was just starting to gain some altitude on a little couple little trees, and we were in there with axes and chainsaws, and what we found out was it was a lightning strike.
Old stump.
It was it had been burning underground for I don't know weeks, at least a week or two, and it had just gotten stirred up enough heat to start raising up and smoldering and come out of the ground, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah,
because I remember we dumped. I don't know how big that tank was. It must have been like that water.
300 gallons. It was quite a little bit.
It was big.
Yeah. We dumped 300 gallons in there. And I remember stepping in there with my foot, and that water was like boiling. It was so freaking hot that it was just like, it burned my foot, the water from us dumping in there and trying to put it out. And then we went down to the lake and went and got another fill up and we doused it really good.
Well,
I'm sure we get it all underneath there. But
I remember we ended up, me and Cody Marshall and Thomas Witherspoon and Matt ended up staying up till like 3 a.m, filling that water tank and trying to drink every last beer in Oregon. And
that sounds about right.
Next morning. Yeah, I slept for like 2 hours. I don't think Cody even went to sleep, and finally got like 2 hours of sleep and woke up the next morning just miserable.
I've seen Cody like that before.
It seems to be a common theme with Cody. That's kind of just the deal.
It's like that ride home from Idaho, right?
Yeah.
There were lots of good W plum tree stories, man.
Yeah. That was probably one of the last field trials. I was going to try and go this year, but I got family in from Texas, so I wasn't able to slip out. But I was close to trying to slip out and go visit everybody over there.
We need to go to Montana.
The Montana one's a lot of fun. I've been over there I've only been to the Lolo trial, but it was a good time. Good group of people over there too.
That was on our schedule to do, and then then Brandon raised his fuel prices, or Putin, or whoever it was.
Yep. And
it just made it really hard to try to figure out how to logistically get over to that field trial. So we didn't make Lolo this year. But that was one that I was supposed to I want to try and get over there and do, but it was just right in the heat of the fuel and all that, and trying to get get everybody over there, either fly or whatever. We just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, those guys do
Montana is the one I got to get to.
They do a really good job over there, and they have it's like a private landowner that lets lets the Houndsman Association put it on there on his piece of ground, and it's a really neat spot.
That's cool. It's hard this time of year because a lot of them are back to back to back to back. It seems like Eastern Idaho was the weekend before OUSDA, and it was the same weekend as their swim race. I think it's just there's a lot of events. Yeah. You know, everybody doing them in a short period of time.
Yeah, kind of getting that in between hunting seasons.
And I'll tell you, LeGrand is about the reaches of the driving. I think that's like 8 hours from my place. That's a full day when you're hauling dogs and having to water and it's 100 degrees outside.
Well, and it seemed like
the problem is the damn heat.
Yeah. Well, remember going there, I was still driving that 99.73, and you had just got your new Power Stroke, and we were pulling that hill out of Pendleton, and I was trying to keep up with you and ended up near blowing that Ford up because it was like I was just getting too hot. And buddy just had no problem. He's like, "This new truck's awesome." I'm like, "Well,
have one."
But this truck has 250,000 miles on it. We need to slow this thing down.
That was right. That was the first time I'd pulled that grade with that thing. And I was just like, dude, like I'd be afraid. Like now, my 2020, I'd be afraid. I'd be like, I guess I know now that it was good, like hauling to Montana.
Oh yeah,
it is night and day difference between like the night, my 2000 7.3, the 14, the 6.7 upgrade from that 7.3 was amazing, and then the 2020 had more horsepower than that 14.
Yeah, I remember the first time I drove that 2020 years, I broke the tires loose on the pavement. coming out of the airport, it was just that much more power even compared to my 15.
Yeah, it's amazing what the diesels have done in the last.
Oh, it's insane.
I don't know what 20 years, I guess. I mean, shit, you feel old saying it that way.
Came a long way since 12 valve.
Those 7.3s were 2000. We couldn't buy them new. We had a couple years old. They were
after somebody beat them,
chipped them.
Yeah,
but yeah, you'd have them chipped out and stuff like that, blowing smoke, all that.
That's how that one of mine was, and it was like 120 degrees coming out of Pendleton, and then that hill is like, it's like that hill doesn't end.
Pretty
it's
gnarly.
Like 13 miles long or some shit like that. I mean, it's a long ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you don't even need to blow smoke.
Yeah. You just
keep it.
I'll say whatever year Mike's was, what was that truck we drove back to Autumn Oaks? That's actually this 17. Weekend.
Same as what I have now.
I'll tell you, that thing, I was blown away. Because I was fully anticipating Mike and I are going to road trip this thing. Hi, Mike. I see him in the background there.
Yeah, it's either 17 or 19.
Whatever it was.
His first one he had ended up being a lemon. He had Ford had bought it back.
That's kind of Mike's deal. He always has a lemon.
He's had two of them since I've worked here. They bought back.
Mike has had more trucks bought back than anybody I know. It was either 3. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 trucks that he's bought new that he's made Ford buy back.
Well, I know.
You'd think he'd get ready to go to something else, but he just keeps.
Now, this is coming from a Dodge fan. And I will say this. There's 2 things about that truck we drove to Oaks. One, it pulled anything he wanted, anywhere he wanted. I mean, over every pass across the country, it seemed like, at 70 miles an hour plus. And the headlights are enough to really get somebody road raging. Because when you're squatting 16,000 pounds in the back going cross country, I think we got flashed at least 1 million times coming through there. People were mad.
Everyone thinks your brights are on and they're not.
And then you turn them on and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah. No, they were bright. I know coming through Indianapolis that year, it was like this huge thunderstorm, thunder and lightning everywhere, like standing water on the highway or freeway. And those headlights, they would cut through anything. That was insane.
Yeah, I'm surprised you and Mike are both working here still after.
We had a great trip. I'd do it again with him right now. It's this weekend. We could be there if we left right now.
Is it?
That was the proving grounds. I remember Buddy told me, I'm going to send those guys over there. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
See, Buddy has a tendency to do this with me. He just sticks me with people to see if we can get along.
Yeah. Exactly. We're gonna pressure test the situation. That's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna put a little pressure, just add a little salt and pepper in there and see what happens.
Yeah, insert Wisconsin last year.
Oh yeah, I don't want to talk about
Don't
that.
even bring that one up.
Before I forget, we need to talk about OnX maps.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
So, talking about Garmin problems, 200i, bringing up bad subjects. So most people already know that the OnX maps do not work on the 200.
Yep.
OnX, I don't even know if they've announced it yet or whatever. Maybe I should.
We'll announce it for them.
We'll take care of that.
If you want an OnX chip, you better get one because they're going to be discontinuing their map chips. Some states looks like September 1st, which is by the time this podcast announces, you got a couple dates,
yeah,
a couple days before they discontinue them. Most of the states that we are big in, Wisconsin, Montana, the western states, most of those states are going to have a couple more months, but OnX map chips are on their way out. So if you want one, if you need one, again, they won't work in the 200i's.
They won't work in the 71 either.
Yeah. Hey,
but he wants to.
They don't work in 71.
No, they won't. They won't work in a 71.
Yeah.
I thought.
See, I've seen them work in them. They're touchy.
Yeah, I have to.
I've seen some that do, and
there were
some
that wouldn't.
Yeah, I remember we tried to, buddy. It was you and me on the side of that county road, and we were trying to get that OnX chip to work. And Sam's dad's.
Yeah, but that was an old OnX chip. There were some old ones that wouldn't work.
Oh.
So there was definitely some old ones that had they were under 4 gig or something. They had a batch of chips that. I mean, OnX never wanted to say anything about because they didn't want to have to replace. This is the thing with companies; they always hush hush on different things. But there was a certain batch of chips that they bought that wouldn't work in them, and so people were shopping around and trying different ones, and some would work and some wouldn't work, and so we chased it down to if you looked at the map chip, and I don't remember if it was 4 gig or something. If it was
a size.
If it was under 4 gig. On the size, it didn't work on the DriveTrack 71, and if the chip was installed on a chip that had a little bit more than 4 gig, they're all 4 gig chips, but it was 3.996 or something, and then another one would be 3.999 was the capacity. Some small difference like that. This is years ago. They would work on the one, but they wouldn't work on the other. No, some weird thing like that.
Oh.
So,
the map chips make things do weird stuff. I mean, even handhelds, you can't put too big of a map card in them. Or if you do, they freak out or it won't save.
Yeah, what is it, a 16 gig is, wasn't that in a 100, you can only put a 16 gig in it?
I think can you go up to 32, buddy?
No, it was 2 gig in the beginning.
Well, yeah.
And then after that, it was 4 gig for a 220. And then I think you're right on the 320s or whatever. They got up to 16 or 32.
I think it's 32.
Was it 32?
64. So, yeah, because the Huntview chips were 32 meg.
Oh.
Or gig or I don't know.
Those are on sale. Should we plug that?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. Anybody needing a new map chip and doesn't want to go with an OnX, check out the Huntview Plus on sale now at W Hunting Supply.
Yeah, so you got Huntview chips $30 off, and you got OnX chips going out the door and getting ready to be discontinued. Whatever you want, you better buy a map chip. Yeah, that story between OnX and Garmin, those guys, they don't like each other.
I get asked that all the time. What's the deal?
Yeah.
What's the deal? And it's
why don't they work?
And
I don't know which company to fault on that. You know what I mean? You can blame Garmin for not. It's. I can see both sides of the story, right? Garmin is going to build their product the way they want to build it, and it's not like they're locking out Huntview or OnX
because there's other
maps.
chips that'll work in them. That's
exactly
my point.
I've used Backroads.
Yep.
Yeah, Backroads works just fine on my 200. I had they sent me the Washington map. I don't know if they sell the Washington one or not, but
they do if you own W.
Does it work?
Oh, he's got someone doing.
We're trying a 200 without the eye, but go to Montana. But yeah, something about Garmin and OnX. I don't know who. I'm like, it's like being in the middle of two companies battling, and I look at it from Garmin's side, and I'm like, if they can make good products and they got to do certain things that, that's just the way they got to be to display on their device. I can see that, to be like, you can't upgrade your device because you might make this other company's product, not work anymore. Garmin's going to be like, what do you mean? Like, we build the Garmin product, they build the accessories for it. And so on that standpoint, I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, And on the other standpoint, it's like, well, were they doing it to be, facetious or whatever? Were they trying to be jerks and cut off OnX so they sell more Huntview chips? Yeah, that's kind of a
that was kind of my take on it.
Yeah.
That's the hard part, because it's like buying a brand new pickup and then going and trying to fit an Alpine stereo deck or something in it, and there's no adapter. Well, Ford's not going to make it. Like, you know what I mean? The manufacturer's not going to change the product to adapt to an aftermarket accessory. I mean, business standpoint wise.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, I can kind of see, yeah, this is not going to work. I don't think it works in 200 either. I wanted to check that. I've been meaning to check that. But anyway, so if and then the question is why doesn't OnX just fix their,
Problem.
They just make one little change and do an update and follow the rules. So they could probably change it and make it work on the 200i. If Backroads, which is another mapping vendor, can do it,
that's my thought.
There's no reason they can't, and so their motivation is they want you buying the cell phone app version of OnX, which I have, I'd use, I like. I mean, honestly, I use OnX more than I do Garmin when it comes to landowner names. They're better.
It's a lot easier.
It's a lot easier than Garmin's stuff, as far as using it. And so I've just used it on my cell phone, which is what they want. But it's kind of this mix between, okay. And the dog, see, if you were just a regular deer and elk hunter, a lot of those guys are totally okay going to cell phone only. You know what I mean? Like, we're kind of in this old school section that, like, we still use Garmin and, we want OnX because we need to know landowner names and stuff.
We got that telemetry collar still hanging on.
They're always screwing the hound guy. That's what it is. The hound guy's in the middle getting screwed. That's what, like, all the deer and elk hunters, they're just like, what do you mean? Just go to your cell phone or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work that way. We use the Garmin to track our dogs, and we can't get away from that. And then we still need OnX for landowner names. And you can use the Huntview chips, and they work okay. They're better than nothing, but they didn't do as good of a job of laying out the maps and stuff like OnX did.
No, definitely not.
But no more. If by next year there'll be no more OnX chips. At least that's what's coming down the rumor mill.
But he's going to get a phone call from OnX after this launches.
What else do I got left to sell? I mean, basically all they're
working this all out.
They're going to disable my map. They're going to be like, that asshole. Here you go. He can't even log into my map now on my cell phone, and my OnX map won't work because I pissed him off.
Well,
I can't sell anymore. So
by the time this airs, Buddy's going to be in the woods anyways. They won't be able to get a hold of him.
Yeah, right.
My cell phone. I better download all my shit now, so that at least whenever I need it, it's all on my cell phone. I can't update anything, but at least I can have it on my cell phone.
Well, on the same kind of topic, though, I mean, should we touch on the Garmin and the Bird's Eye subscriptions too?
Yeah. Oh,
they're gone.
Yep. So the Bird's Eye subscriptions are effective. And I don't know the whole story on that, but yeah, they stopped where you can't download. So if you have like a 100, James, where you could download the Bird's Eye,
yep,
you can't do that no more. Those surveys, where you can't just download them from a web server to an Alpha 100.
Oh, really? So
or if you can, it's on a very limited basis.
So now it's basically the only way to have it's on a 200.
Direct to device.
No.
And direct to the device.
Yeah, direct download. Yeah,
or
exactly.
One of those Huntview
so
chips.
If you use the device, the Alpha 200, you can do it, but it's not like where you go into base camp and you download a big area, like the Alpha 100.
Well, I forgot those.
Yeah,
the Huntview Plus has it in it already, huh? You can just turn it on.
Yep. Yeah, it's just not as detailed as some guys like. So that was another kind of, I think, shortening moment that. And there was some kind of, God, I forgot all about that, Jason. There was some kind of, there's always logic behind why they do that. It never makes sense to the pissed off guy. I mean, like the guy that's pissed off, it's like, you're screwing us. You're just trying to, which like, yeah. And I don't remember what it was. It was something about having to like keep up with software. So like that Basecamp program, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so old. They're going to the cell phone app. They're doing so many different things for them to keep applying resources and people to upgrade that Basecamp, which is like a 10-year-old program, and all these new computers and the new, all the new stuff. It's like they got to keep that program alive and the new bugs they got to fix and all the stuff. And less people are using computers now than ever. So more people are using cell phones. You know what I mean? So it's like Garmin's looking at it going, yeah, to that one guy, it sucks. But the big picture, nobody does that anymore. Hardly anybody does that anymore. And so they just turn it off, and then that one guy pipes up pissed off. You know what I mean?
Well, they didn't give much warning.
They did. They just turned it off.
Like, I deal with people every day, right?
You deal with the one guy that was using it.
Yeah, right. I got that guy. And it's like, I don't know why. I mean, they're trying to push us into buying chips. And I don't know the techie side of it, but it's like,
somewhat, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Exactly.
That is probably the motivation if they're looking at it going, well, worst case, the guy buys this or whatever. But that's not
there's a reason
the reason why they did it. They did it because they had to fire up a whole freaking software team to revamp this base camp or base camp. And they're like, does anybody even use this anymore? And some top levels like, no, nobody uses it anymore.
Only people
I
who
called
should.
Jason pissed off, be like, I freaking use that shit still.
Well, because the biggest complaint is if they buy a Huntview Plus chip, it's in standard resolution, for them to fit all that information, which isn't as detailed. So you can go and download to your. Oh, go ahead, man.
In the same breath, how much do we really need? It gets kind of to a point where it's like, how much detail do you really need?
Oh, do you know how many phone calls I get asking for the map chip that will show their dogs, like the aerial view of their dogs running through the woods?
Dogs running? It's like it's live?
No, I'm not even joking. You can't make that up. That happens. I can count on way more than one occasion.
That's
Garmin's that Bird's Eye software is like really old if you ever looked at it. Like years.
Oh yeah. That's why
old.
your clear cuts aren't there anymore, because they're now old growth.
Yeah. It's tough. Like I said, I'm kind of with you, James. How much do we really need anymore? Like I keep going older and older school, trying to dummy it down a little bit, going.
And it really takes a lot of the frustration out of it for me.
Yeah, because you start fixating on these little problems and these. It's much better to be like, that sucks, but I'm gonna go hunt. You know what I mean? Like, let's see what that's kind of shitty. But you know what? I'm going to go hunting. That makes it nice and easy.
I like those Alpha 10s though. I think that's a really cool unit because I find myself using it more and more because you're not fixating on it. Because even as much as you don't want to admit you fixate, you totally fixate when you're using something with math. Where it's like, okay, I still have the reliability. I know it's there. If I need to, I can look at the other one, but it's just less and it's more enjoyment to the race a lot of times.
Yeah. I think we should go back to our challenge, man. I think it should be like, I wonder if I doubt Garmin would sanction this.
Absolutely not.
Go hunt 3 days without your Garmin. You know what I mean? Like, if you put your collar on, don't turn your handheld.
We should have them
and see how long you can go.
Just have a video of them turning a dog loose with like you said, that might be better. Just turn it off and put it away instead of going without. For safety reasons, but
and leave the collar on, and then that way, worst case scenario, you can go find the dog eventually.
Yeah. It's probably the safer bet, but then you're still handicapping it. Half of me wants to be like, because I have it where those collars will f up or whatever, and
make a lock.
The truth is we were hunting before Garmin. Like, Garmin built the product for us. It's like we were doing this long before Garmin. I think there was better dog men, that had to read their dogs better.
100%.
It's catch-22. I think some of it is you got to be around the dogs a lot more, so that makes it easier to handle dogs and learn dogs. But it also gets you fixated on problems when you see a collar that cuts out early. You know what I mean? Like, this collar only tracks 600 yards and that one goes 1 mile, and it's like, well, yeah, that
your telemetry collars
that
did
same
that
shit
too.
happened. Telemetry, I mean, we had weak collars and we had strong collars, and everybody wants perfect, and I don't know that that's always a good thing. Garmin always asks, like, what do you want? And I'm like, man, sometimes I really think we're Garmin is causing us more problems
that we didn't know
than we need to deal with sometimes. You know what I mean? By giving so much information and changing things in such a short amount of time, I really think, I just think sometimes for the wrong guy, you know what I mean, the guy that fixates on it and wants everything to work perfect, I'm like, dude, that's get used to it not happening.
Yeah.
You're going to run into problems, especially new products. If you're that type, this chaps my hide all the time. Yeah, everybody wants to beat down our door for the new product, and I love it when these. You know what I like seeing? I like seeing somebody trying to beat down our door to get the very first one. You know what I mean? They want the newest product, and then I see them on Facebook telling everybody else to hold off.
And how much it
hold
sucks.
off. These are shitty, and this sucks. And I'm like, oh. I could have told you that you're going to have problems. You know, what I mean? Who was it? Was it Ryan? We need to get Ryan Harms on here. But the same thing I told him, I was like, here's the deal, Ryan. Like, you're going to have problems. Hopefully you don't have more than your fair share. That's the truth, okay? Because there's people that get more than their fair share, and that's when it sucks, okay? I'm just going to tell you, you don't want to be the guy that gets more than your fair share.
Well, and then that poor bastard, he ended up, because I told him the same thing, just wait. And after 5 months or whatever it was, I'm like, yeah, they're working great. Yeah, I would do it. And then he got 2 or 3 in a row with the double blinking red light.
Oh, I think it was 3. It was just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Oh.
But he found that one of his chargers, there was a wire in his split adapter was causing.
And I had that exact same problem. With the splitter, I had the exact same deal, and it ended up being it wasn't the collar, it was the charger.
Yeah. And so that's the hard part is you get sometimes fixated on, okay, is this double blink? And in the early days of the TT15s, that was the problem. And Garmin was chasing that thing down. I think we're the curve is slowing down on that. I was just talking to Mike this morning, today about 15x collars and failures. We still get some guys that send them in and say they won't charge. And then we get them in the shop here and they charge just fine. And so it's like, what in the hell is happening And you know what I mean? Like, is it their charger? Is it, and we may not be asking enough questions in the beginning of the phone call to be like, hey, but it's frustrating for us. And we get the collar replaced. And then we get it here and we're like, dude, this thing works perfect. Like
a lot lately.
I'll throw it on my dog, go hunt tomorrow. But I'm not discrediting the fact that when they're at home, I don't be like, do you know how to charge a collar?
That is a hard question to ask.
I think the biggest thing or a tip to give to somebody is, like for me personally, I have a 10 port charger that's all set up and zip tied up, and it's been hanging there on the wall for a long time. And like when I got those new collars, I didn't change the charging clips. It was like, oh, well, it's the same charger, and you just plug it in. And I think something that would be beneficial to a lot of guys is when you get that new collar, change that charging clip. I mean, even if you got to cut your zip ties and reroute it or whatever. Because I had some of the same issues, and I was using the old chargers that have been used day in and day out for probably the last 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, and that was how Ryan found his, because he was really meticulous about putting the same collar on the same charger every single time, and he was able to switch collars. He's like, oh, now that this collar's doing, he was able to identify it to a charger.
And that was actually the same way.
That was interesting. Yeah. So I don't want to, like, there have been problems with the 15x's, even the 200i's, which there is a software update came out. There was actually 2 of them. There was one last week. It was 235, I think. And then they double tapped it because they did 240. So I don't know normally when that happens, that something wrong happened. So they bumped it. So if you have a collar, if you updated last week, make sure you get this 240 update, because normally that's not a good sign when they release them 2 days apart. That's generally something happened. Pretty, I don't know.
It's a lot of work for a little thing.
I've been too busy. Alpha 200 update was out. I think the Alpha 10 update came out. And then the X collars, the 15X and the T5X. Looking at the change log, it looks like it was like bark detection, some things like that. It looked super serious, but definitely want to get those collars. That's the one thing people need to do is update collars, And if you're gonna run the new stuff, you need to know that you're gonna be updating software. I love guys. I don't have a computer.
Don't buy an X.
Don't buy the new stuff. In fact, you should not buy a Garmin. You should go find the telemetry stuff. You don't have to update software on telemetry.
At least then you didn't know when they were broken. I've hunted with telemetry collars all season, and they weren't beeping at all.
Yeah. Or you never take the magnet out of it, and it's never even turned on to begin with.
Exactly. You just hope the dog beats it out of there going through the brush. Exactly. You realize it about 100 yards too late. Well, and that's these X's. Yeah. It's tough because I think people see them and they look just like a 15. I mean, you can't tell the difference at first glance, but I mean, even down to the pairing procedure, I've been getting that phone call a lot. Guys not getting them into pairing mode because they're holding the button too long. Have you heard that one?
Yeah. Yeah. People hold the button a little bit longer on the X collars. They don't go. It turns off. Little things like that are all just different in the software, and sometimes it just takes a little while to get used to them, but
they're getting there.
I think it's getting better. I mean, I'm always cautious, when guys, it's tough because everybody wants the new stuff. And I mean, even selling it, I want to be like, oh yeah, battery life's awesome. I mean, there was a lot of things about the X collars that I was truly happy with. Like me and James actually last little bit of season, he was up there hunting with me, and we sled back into that warming hut. We just left collars on
for
all
like
night.
3 or 4 days.
Yeah, and we just turned them to 2-minute update rates at night, and we never charged once. We hunted for 3 or 4 days.
I went to get something out of the truck today, and I've got a collar I turned on Saturday morning at like 7 a.m. and it's still clicking off. Mm-hmm. It's got GPS service from the floorboard of my pickup, and that's, I mean, to me, that's saying something. But if you've seen my truck like Buddy has, like there's always 10,000 piles of stuff on top of the floorboard.
Yeah.
So they're getting.
So it's always hard for me to figure out what, you know what I mean, to push the good stuff, you know, which is like battery life is phenomenal. But then on the other hand, being like, well, if you're adverse to technology, if you don't like problems, don't be the first guy in line to upgrade. Like, let the other guys do that. You know what I mean? Like, I tell, and Garmin will never do this, but I'm like, I wish Garmin would give their favorites just $100
as long as we're on that
$200. Yeah, as long as we're on the favorites list. I want to be on the list. If I don't want them making the list and having me on the outside
just
of the
like
list.
A test batch.
Here's the favorites, buddy. You didn't make the list, but I always thought, man, it would be nice to be able to give us like 200 callers, and then let us pick good customers and that doesn't mean somebody that hunts hard. And you know what I mean, if he can't run a computer, he may not be the right customer to test it. But somebody who hunts a lot is pretty tech savvy and is not going to lose their shit when they have a problem. You know what I mean? Those are the things that would make that list for me. I'll be like, hey, yeah, it's not going to work perfect. Just know that. And if we could launch, like a test group on that where they could, I always thought that'd be a really good idea. The bad thing is, everybody's going to want to raise their hand to be on that list. And then you're going to get guys that sign up and then they're going to talk about how bad it is. And it's like, well, if you're on this list, your goal is to make it better. You know what I mean? Like you want to make the product better. And yeah, they won't do that for probably legal reasons and other things that are smarter than me, but
it'd be nice.
I'd be like a little contract here. Be like, here, you're not going to bitch at me. You're not going to bitch at Garmin. Whatever. You bitch at Garmin. That won't be on my contract. You're allowed to bitch at Garmin, but you can't bitch at me. Okay. I want you off the list. If you're I got thin skin. You can be pissed off at me.
Thin skin.
Yeah, right.
Look at my feelings here. Or I should at least be like, don't bitch at the employees, because if they leave, then I gotta go to freaking work, and that's what I don't want, right?
Cat season's looking good so far. Don't screw this up.
You can cuss me out. I'm gonna be like, yeah, what? I can't hear you. I'm leaving. Have a good day. You start hurting the girls' feelings, and then I got to try and find new employees, and I'm like, this is bullshit. It's cutting into my hunting time now.
Speaking of that, you got your dogs legged up and ready to go?
No, I've been trying, but we were talking about we should probably talk a little bit about getting dogs in shape for the season and stuff. Some tips. I think I overdid it a couple. I'm like a hard drill sergeant. I always expect more, and then I blow everything up, and I'm like, well,
now we got to sit.
My wife
for a week.
Looks at me. Yeah, my wife's like, well, I think you went a little too hard, and I'm like, yeah, I pretty much already figured that out. You had dogs that couldn't move. I'm like, I don't know what I rode. I rode Shelby, and everybody, and dude, I would just touch Shelby on her back. The muscles across the top of her back.
The back straps.
And gosh, she was just so tender right there. I think having older dogs, you know what I mean? I think I got used to having young dogs that legged up a little faster. Now most of my dogs are older. I've had to slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, you don't really have any pups. Andy's the youngest, right? She's
Andy's
2.
young. And she don't hold up great anyways. I blew her pads off. She's lazy. She's kind of a lazy dog.
She is kind of a little bit of a lazy dog, but I like the shit out of her.
Yeah, I do too. She's not lazy when she needs to be, but
that's what Colby says too. He's like, I really like that Andy dog.
She's when you need her to be there, she's there. And I don't even know if it's lazy as much as she's smart. Like, I'm gonna
work smarter, not harder.
Dogs figure this out, and then I'm gonna be there for the victory.
Yeah, it pisses me off. It really pisses me off sometimes. I'm like, you little bitch. Like, but yeah, like her feet. I blew her feet up it was 2 weeks ago. It was a couple weeks ago where I started at like 10 or 12 miles. I was going to rode them, and that was just way too much to start off with. They've been laid up for a couple months. And normally I used to be able to just drop in and do that. And with this year, I kind of screwed a lot up. With Shelby was really super tender to the fact where I was thinking, shit, I broke her, but after a couple of days it went away. So I've been cutting back to like 4 or 5 miles. I went up this weekend and we put 4 or 5 miles on them and try and do that a couple times a week to get them legged up. And then of course, once you start hunting, they kind of figure it out too.
Yeah. Luckily I've been, aside from the fact that it's ridiculously hot, I've had enough steady flow of calls coming in to where, and I had that 1 month permit, so that helped quite a little bit, but enough that they're not in stellar shape, but they're in better shape than some, I guess.
Yeah, it's really hard to get them in good shape just exercising them. Like, I don't know how you do it. Just exercising, you'd have to have a pretty robust exercise regime, and I don't think I have that. I have enough to get them close, and then I tune them up hunting, because I think they work twice as hard when they're running a track.
Oh yeah.
So, Jason, what do you end up doing to get them in season?
Well, I haven't started yet. I haven't had time. I'm way behind the curve. I do the same thing. I just, a lot of places I hunt, there's good, good pulling hills. I mean, where you can do a fairly steady, low grade incline gravel roads, because it seems like I've always been a big fan of gravel. My kennels are gravel. I used to do like a 3/4 clean kennel where I could just put dogs in and then rotate them through there so they would harden up anyway, just even being in the kennel and playing around.
Yeah.
But, and that worked really well. I never had foot problems, but these dogs are different too. I mean, those were those blue ticks, and they were hard footed anyway. I mean, very rarely did we ever have a foot problem if they went out and ran a, 8-9 mile race. It didn't matter. They were still tough. But these dogs are a little different. They're hard when they're hard, but until you get them there, I got one that's pretty susceptible to slipping a pad.
Yeah.
So I just try to find, a decent incline, a steady speed just to get their heart rates up and try to get some lung in them. Cause I think, you can toughen feed at home even if you had to, but you can't reproduce that constant aerobic push.
Yeah.
But like you said, when you get hunting, it's different, then they're screaming and running and, there's no.
It takes me a while to get them dialed in. And then about that time, then you got to shut down for deer and elk season and stuff. It's really hard to get out. Even if you can get out, you're dodging.
Yeah. There's just too many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a lot of people in the woods. And I mean, I try not to cause enemies out there. Even though you can be hunting.
Well, even the good ones.
I always try to find spots that don't have a lot of deer elk hunters in there, and there's never. Normally, that's not always good habitat either. So it's harder to find cats sometimes in that area. But it is what it is. I just
hunt them.
Try to get it going as good as I can, and then I got to shut down for. I don't want to say I fully shut down for November or October, November, but for the most part, there's another month in there that I don't really take dogs out too much, just because. I mean, I'd hate for somebody to shoot a dog or something like that, and it'd make me really.
It'd be a good
really
deal
mad.
all the way around.
It would probably, it'd wreck me, and it's not fun anyways when you get somebody you piss off somebody else's hunt. They got 2 weeks to hunt deer, and they take their weekend to go. I'm like, man, like I don't have enough time, but I got 6 months. I can at least try to pick and choose around some of it.
We usually skip the weekends. Friday and Saturday nights during deer season, I'll skip. Sunday nights after opening weekend, some nights I'll hunt, but it's not even like causing the conflict, because I've ran into those where it's been a big deal. But a lot of them, it's like, dude, back in the day, let's say before GPS or right in the beginnings, first thing, as soon as the first deer hunter hit the woods, it's still dark. We could be running and they're going to grab a dog, and I've had a bunch of them take them to town and call. So you're screwing up their hunt. they're trying to do something that's right, actually. But A, I'm still looking for my dog, and B, we're missing go time for deer season. So it doesn't really help anybody.
Yeah. I think you just got to have some thought behind it when you're hunting those seasons that are overlapping. You just got to have some thought and some courtesy, and it's a balancing act. Yeah, we have right to be out there, and I definitely go out there. Like I'm not a part of not going out there, but like I said, I won't go on a Saturday if it's a really busy time. I'll try to find a spot where there's not a lot of deer hunters and stuff like that. And if I see people hunting or parked at a gate, I try to avoid that and not disrupt their hunt as best I can. I just don't want to lose what we do have.
What I found is best is just kind of hit it midweek, get out of those weekends, and on a Wednesday or Tuesday, Wednesday morning or whatever, kind of catch them in between.
Exactly. And the guys who do or who are out there midweek seem to be more
understanding.
Chill.
Yeah, I would.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's not their only day to hunt. Those guys on a Saturday.
It's not their only day to hunt. They're a little more like, I don't know, serious or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they just understand the woods a little bit better, and they know.
Oh, BS. They called in called into work sick that day, so they're like, "Hey, this is better than working anyway."
Yeah. It's all the kids on. Listen to their Saturday podcast, and they're out there never seen a deer before, but they're out there trying to go kill one. And I'm like, those are the guys that get pissed, because they don't see a damn deer, they don't see anything. They're out there with a sea of orange, and they're just looking for an excuse, somebody to screw up their hunt.
The wind is wrong.
I had one guy barking. I had one. It was a funny story. I had one guy come piping mad up out of there. Oh, you just blew up a 7-point bull I was on, and and I'm like, okay. Did you come out here screaming and yelling? I was like, yeah, I think sometimes you're just the excuse. Yeah, he probably hadn't seen a bull for 2 weeks.
Survey says.
And you're the excuse now. I'm like, so that's what I try not to be. I try not to be the excuse of the guys that don't get in one. Because I was thinking, well, if there was a cougar just coming up on right tracking right up on you, or a bobcat or something, some type of cat, feline, something. My dogs must have smelled or whatever, and they struck. Because I called him off when I seen his truck, but yeah. Anyways, it always just gives them. I try not to be the excuse for people. If they're not having a good day hunting, I don't want to be the guy that gets blamed on it. So, all right, we probably should get ready to wrap up here. The shop is getting warm. We don't have air conditioning.
Get him off the phone.
James, thanks for joining us. We're going to do one with Ryan we've been talking about, Jason. We'll have to schedule that next week or whatever. We'll get James to join us back on that one. Bullshit with Ryan.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Out in Montana. See how the hunting went down there in Montana. And I was going to do one last year with him, and it never worked out. And so
he can be a hard one to pin down.
Yeah. But if you're listening to this and we need some guests. We're kind of with hunting season coming.
Buddy's trying to find a replacement.
Yeah, you need someone to talk to Jason. On the weekend, we can get a couple podcasts stacked in here so that we're not up on the line. I think this week we had a rough.
Well, it was tight.
We're kind of on the line, I think. We missed Steve's.
No, well, we didn't miss it. It came out Monday night.
It came out the same day, but
it was
we
late.
Missed the morning release because we didn't have it edited in time, and
it's that finding.
There were some file transfers.
Finding time. That's the thing. And time.
So if you're listening and you got a couple good podcasts, guests or stories or topics, we need to hear from you.
Well, and I'd like to do some, topics where we can get more than one point of view. Have someone on, and then we can just expand on that because, there's 100 ways to skin a cat. So if somebody has a good topic idea or something, or would like to be on, feel free to reach out to us.
Yep. Sounds good.
Right on, guys. Well, thanks for having me on, and we'll be talking to you this next week.